Namaste, dear brothers and sisters, and welcome to today's evening session. We are on day 68 in our journey of being heartful every day. Before we move on to our inspirational reading of the day, just a gentle reminder for sharing the invitation for master classes with anyone you feel can get benefited from heartfulness practice, and also sharing the link for Being Heartful Everyday program as well. You can share these invitations with your friends, family, and beloved ones. So, with that, let's move on to our inspirational reading of this week. We have been reading User Guide, The Art of Removing and Creating Habits. So, we are going to continue where we left yesterday. I'll reread this portion that we read yesterday because the later part is a continuation of this one. The idea of yama as death may sound morbid, but there is tremendous wisdom in removing unwanted complexities and transcending the I-ness of the ego. It is a death of our self-created sense of identity, the layers of our persona. The ego can be very restrictive force, limiting us to a very rigid belief system. It can prevent us from remaining flexible and blossoming in new and open ways. But the methods are there to help us change all that. When we are able to let go of the things that no longer serve us, transcending the limitations of our belief systems, the ego becomes our ally. We move from a limited focus on personal beliefs to being open to the universal consciousness. In order to do this, we refine the mind, also known as the subtle body, so that it becomes pure, light, expansive, and unlimited. There are two fundamental aspects to this refinement. First, removal of complexities from the subtle body. We remove any complexities and heaviness from the subtle body, the impressions we have accumulated over from our past, so that it becomes light and pure. These impressions are called samskaras in yoga. This removal leads to the death of our individual network of beliefs, emotions, fears, habits, desires, and myriads of traits. Many people try to do this through psychoanalysis and personal therapy at the mental level. But that is generally a long, slow process because of the depth of the subconscious roots of patterns and tendencies. In heartfulness, the practice of cleaning removes the root samskars by directly cleaning the subtle body at the vibrational level. This process is so effective that the impressions from one whole lifetime can be removed in a single meditation session with a trainer. To support this, we also need to remove the habits and behaviors that are the outer expression of the inner expressions so that we don't recreate the same patterns again and again. Otherwise, we are like little mice in a cage on a spinning wheel, going round and round, removing, recreating, removing, recreating. It is a never ending cycle until we change our behavior and lifestyle. Second, ongoing refinement of the subtle body. The second aspect is the refinement of the four main functions of the subtle body: consciousness, thinking, intellect, and ego. With meditation on the heart, the thinking function deepens and expands to include feeling and then expands further to include states that are beyond experience. Our mental process moves towards the subtlest state possible, guided by the heart. The intellect deepens into intelligence and then to intuition, to wisdom and beyond. Again, it becomes subtler and subtler. As we remain connected with the universal consciousness, wisdom flows like a current from beyond. The ego is redirected from a selfish focus on I toward a selfless focus on we, toward generosity of the heart, then greater humility and acceptance, and finally to the subtlest state of identity. As these three mental functions are refined, consciousness is able to expand into its infinite state, untethered and in osmosis with the universal consciousness. If we could do all this through meditative practices alone, we would all be soaring in no time. But the ego does not move from selfishness to generosity without a fight. It is a process, and it takes time to trust our feelings and the wisdom of the heart, and to become totally dependent on something higher. Ignoring the pros and cons of the rational mind that are determined by the cognates of our programmed belief system. It requires adjustment and recalibration of character, side by side with practice. As we continue to transcend towards lightness and freedom, we experience the real aliveness of living from the heart. We live a life connected with the universal being. Such a life is supported by the wisdom of conducting life with the self discipline that we know as yama. This state of self discipline is beautifully described as being in this world, but not of this world, symbolized by the lotus living in the mud, unpolluted by the dirt, radiating purity and beauty. I like to call these yamas the five vows of the seeker. They are vows of self discipline for living life bravely and not straying from the noble path. In the next articles, we will explore their relevance in our daily lives. So, this brings us to the end of the Art of Removing and Creating Habits, Part 1. You can find Part 2 in your suggested reading in the Heartfulness app. And tomorrow, we will just overview Part 2 as well before we wrap down our inspirational reading for the topic of compassion. So, with that, let us prepare ourselves for universal prayer. Let us take a couple of minutes to connect to our deeper self and prepare for the prayer. At this moment, I'll request that we all gently close our eyes. Take a deep breath in. Connect to your deeper self, to the divinity in your heart. Feel that connection with every breath you take more and more. Center yourself. And gently move your focus on a subtle thought that all brothers and sisters are being filled with love and devotion, and real faith is growing stronger in them. अब अगले कुछ क्षणों के लिए हम अपना ध्यान इस बात पर केंद्रित करेंगे कि सभी भाई बहन प्रेम और भक्ति से भर रहे हैं और उनमें सच्ची श्रद्धा दृढ़ होती जा रही है। If you feel you are ready to come out of your prayer, you can gently open your eyes. Thank you, dear brothers and sisters, for joining in today's session. Gentle reminder for your bedtime prayer and reflection for the day before you wrap up the day. See you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Good night.